Back at it with MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy. It's been a couple weeks, but it's a fast-moving fall semester, fall sports season. Sir, good to have you back on.
Yeah, good to see you, Chris. Fall's in the air. This weather's going to be a little cooler this weekend, and we're reaching the halfway point, maybe a little further than the halfway point in a lot of our sports. A lot of our teams are gearing up for championship runs, so it's a great time of the year.
Before we get into today's topics, how do you enjoy the moment? Are you able to enjoy the moment during fall sports, any sports season, really? Because I was thinking about that last night, that we're in week 7 of our high school football show that we have. And I thought, there's only 3 weeks of regular season football left. Like, I've enjoyed it, but it's already almost gone again. Like, it's kind of one of those things where I have to stop and think, wow, I've enjoyed it, but I really haven't stopped to actually enjoy the moments either.
When I was my first couple of years as commissioner, it was such a whirlwind and felt like, things happened so quickly. I told myself that I was going to find ways to just kind of enjoy the moment, and, whether it's, being at the Lincoln football game and making sure I watch the band perform at halftime, or just, while I'm driving someplace, just looking out the window and kind of enjoying the scenery of driving through, central Kansas, or, wherever I might be. And so I try to, when I go into a stadium and I see all the colors and a full house and passionate fans on a beautiful fall day, I try to soak it in. But it's hard. You're right. Things move quickly, and we're in the mindset now where we're planning for basketball media day and our fall championships, and so we're always a few weeks ahead, making sure things are ready to go. So it's hard to step back and just enjoy the moment, but I try to do it when I can.
As we kind of look at this week's topics, you sent me over 10 strategies, and we're not going to hit this in a particular order. If I start with one, that way people know these aren't what you are putting them in order of. But maybe the first one we'll go into is maybe one of the biggest topics in college athletics, change, embracing change. Why is that one of your strategies you want the MIAA to focus on?
Yeah, and I appreciate you not putting these in any order, and they're kind of top of mind strategies. These are the things that commissioners think about when they're in those car rides, those long drives, thinking about ways that, okay, what do we need to be doing to make sure that the MIAA stays as a great Division II conference. And it doesn't just come easy. There's a lot of hard work that goes in on our campuses and in the conference office to make sure that our student athletes that choose MIAA schools will have the absolute best student athlete experience. And this first one that you started with, embrace change, is a great one, Chris. The world of college athletics is changing rapidly, and we've talked about that on previous shows. And the MIAA and our member schools, we really have two choices. We can fight change and try to keep things exactly the way they are, which to me seems like a losing strategy. Or we can put our arms completely around these changes and embrace them and try to bring these to our student athlete experience and be recognized as the best at kind of this new world of intercollegiate athletics. So, whether we're talking about, NIL, name, image, and likeness, or transfers and the transfer portal, or just the empowered role that student athletes have and a greater voice in decision making, we need to show the general public and especially prospective student athletes that these are things that the MIAA is on top of, that these are things we embrace, and that these are things that we want our student athletes to feel like, hey, no one does it better in Division II than our MIAA schools. And so, that's the reason we partnered with companies like Open Doors and Empower You, our NIL compliance initiative, and just other things that we're doing. But yeah, embrace change has to be a strategy if the MIAA is going to continue to be successful.
And I feel like this next topic kind of piggybacks off that a little bit, the continuing to be innovative. You talked about, either embracing change or trying to keep the status quo. That's part of that, right? Is the league has to find ways to separate themselves from the pack a little bit. And that's going out on a limb sometimes, right? And saying, hey, we're going to try this. We're going to try to be a leader in this, and just hopefully, everything plays out right.
Yeah, and you've tied the two things together that I wanted to talk about. Innovation, in my mind, equals leadership. And to be a leader, it requires a little bit of risk and having confidence that, whatever that risk is, that you can pull it off. And I think a great example of that this year, Chris, is the thing that we're doing with instant replay in football. We're the only NCAA Division II or Division III conference that's doing this. And we're doing it really for two reasons. One, we believe that replay can make our games better. We can get targeting calls correct. We can give coaches an opportunity to challenge important calls. But more important, this is the future of intercollegiate athletics, the opportunity to use technology to help improve our game. And we feel we're testing something that's going to be the future for Division II and Division III football and how replay might work. So it's innovation. We're taking a little bit of a risk, but we're confident that this is the things that we need to be doing to help lead the way for NCAA Division II athletics.
All right. I know this next one is a hard one for me in my life. I think a lot of people's lives. Being patient. I'm constantly kind of, okay, what's next? We got to keep going. How do you balance that between the constant change in the NCAA landscape, but also, hey, we've got to be patient at the same time too?
Yeah, and it's hard to be patient while you're embracing change and trying to be innovative. It's a balancing act, but it's an important strategy that we have to have in the MIAA. There's a lot of interest in schools wanting to be part of our conference and continuing to grow our membership. But, our presidents and our athletic directors, we have to be a little patient to see how things continue to sort out in Division I. Division I is really at an early stage of some of the discussions they're having about changes in their membership, changes in the way they govern, changes in the way that schools qualify for their championships. And there will be fallout from all of that. And I think as a conference, it's really important for the MIAA to see how some of those things shake out before we settle on exactly what the future of our league looks like, and especially the future of growth in our conference. So patience needs to be a key attribute that we bring to the table as we try to continue to elevate the MIAA.
I know this next topic we've talked quite a bit about, and I think it covers a wide variety of personal wellness too. I think we've talked about physical, mental, emotional wellness. That one's been big, I think, even more so after the COVID-19 shut everything down too, especially the mental health part of the wellness. But I mean, we've seen it with physical well-being too, with concussions in the NFL too. There's a whole lot of wellness topics going on right now. Is that just another part of the MIAA is trying to cover all different types of wellness for the student athletes, coaches, and everybody involved too?
Yeah, well, you and I have talked about this online and offline, and yeah, it's a huge priority in NCAA. It's a huge priority in the MIAA. And, when we talk about wellness, we're talking about a full, complete, happy person. And the result of that is somebody that's optimally performing at the highest level. You can't achieve that. You can't achieve that in school. You can't achieve that in friendship. You can't achieve that in athletics of performing at the highest level if you're not a full, complete, happy person. And for that to occur, we're going to have to focus on a lot of important issues for our student athletes and our coaches and our athletic staff. And it relates to sleep, it relates to nutrition, it relates to how we deal with stress, it relates to how we take care of each other, it relates to having a balanced life. And what we need to do as the MIAA, as we continue to prioritize this, is promote it, Chris. We need to talk about it. We need to help parents and student athletes understand that this is important in our conference. It's important in our conferences. And if you come to one of our institutions and you're a student athlete at one of our institutions, this will be a focus of your experience.
Next topic is always one that fans love to dissect and armchair a little bit, which I think we all do it. Everybody does it. Prioritizing officiating. I know even at the high school level, there's a shortage right now in officials too. But the MIAA, we talked about it earlier with instant replay, that I'm trying to make the game better with football, targeting and reviewing plays too. But it's not an easy job. I don't ever want to try to be an official because, I mean, that's a hard job to have because it's all in real time. Sure, if you go back and watch everything, yeah, you would get it right 100% of the time. But that's just a hard job that I think it takes a special individual to want to be a part of that too.
It does. It takes a commitment because, a lot of people, they recognize that in the NFL and even at the highest levels of D1, officials can make pretty good money. And they could, in some cases, that could be their primary job.
Yeah.
Not the case in Division II or Division III or high school. These individuals that do this are not really doing it for the money. They're doing it because they love the sport. Many of them were athletes, and they look at this as a way to give back. But, when we talk about as a strategy, Chris, prioritizing officiating, I mean investments. We're, as a conference, over the next 5 to 10 years, there are two big areas where we have to invest our resources as a league. One is something we already talked about, health and wellness, and the other is in officiating. And we have to invest in recruiting, we have to invest in training, we have to invest in evaluating, we have to invest in having the best supervisors. We have to invest in having the best programs. I think we do right now, but we can't stay status quo. We have to get better, and that's going to continue to be investments in our officiating, finding new officials, helping current student athletes understand, hey, there's an opportunity when I get done playing to stay connected to the game and be an official. But yeah, prioritizing officiating is a huge strategy in our commitment to continue to be great in the MIAA.
I think the next two topics, I may put them more together, but I think they could be separate too at the same time. Continuing to be resourceful, be bold, and lead. I think those two can maybe kind of go hand in hand, especially with what we've already talked about with the other 5 strategies too, right?
Yeah. When I think about resourcefulness, it's a recognition as an NCAA Division II conference and NCAA Division II schools that we don't have Southeastern Conference resources. Our institutions don't have Texas A&M money, and we have to be resourceful. We have to be creative. A great example of that is our partnership with the U.S. Council on Athletes' Health. We've got to find ways with strategic partners to use their resources to help us be better. And in a way, the U.S. Council on Athletes' Health is acting as the MIAA's chief medical officer. I can't go out and hire a chief medical officer, but I can work and partner with a firm like the U.S. Council on Athletes' Health, tap into all their resources, and have that type of that type of position or leadership coming out of our office. Being bold is simply continuing to be confident in who we are as a league, and that means our schools and our administrators, our coaches, stepping up and serving on these important NCAA committees. We can't be bold and lead on the sideline. We've got to have people on the football committee. We've got to have people on the basketball committee. We've got to have people serving on our president's council in the NCAA or our management council in leadership positions to help them understand what we're doing in the MIAA and to help Division II continue to reflect, the values and the ways that we operate intercollegiate athletics in our conference. So I agree. Those two things are important. They go together. They relate to each other. But being bold and being resourceful are all about advocacy and leadership for the MIAA.
I think this one is an interesting topic too. Enhancing the governance model that the MIAA has in place, because we've talked a lot about governance across the NCAA as a whole too. Just that you guys are constantly trying to figure out what's this going to look like 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Yeah, we're doing this hand in hand at the same time. The NCAA is trying to figure out its new model, its new system of governance. I've always believed that good governance is two things. One, it's efficient, and the other, it's responsive. And I think the last 6 months, as we've had a Constitution task force in the MIAA, looking at our current model, our current operating bylaws, our current Constitution, there are ways that we can improve in efficiency and in responsiveness. And I'm really pleased with the work that Constitution task force has been doing. We're on target for them to give our presidents a report at the January meeting. And I think, the changes aren't going to be real sexy and exciting for MIAA fans to hear about, but they are going to help our system, our business decisions, the way we make things happen in the conference. They're going to help us be better. And it's going to serve us well, I think, as we look at the future and the changes that are happening in intercollegiate athletics.
We kind of touched on this one already too when we talked about open doors and empower you, but it feels like the MIAA every couple of weeks is coming out with a new release on a new partner with an industry leader, and just growing that way too. Just kind of how important is that initiative too? I mean, obviously you see conferences all trying to always partner, and like you said earlier, get the MIAA out there, be in front, be one of the quote unquote game changers, maybe too, in the Division II.
Yeah, so our partnerships are very important for our conference office budget. It plays a pretty big role in our ability to have 5 staff members and do the things we need to do, and getting out and traveling to games and engaging with our membership. But the most important part of our partnerships is to make sure that we're working with industry leaders, partners that our schools are going to want to work with. It doesn't make sense for us to bring a partner in and they're not going to have much luck in trying to engage with our member schools and try to do things with them. And so when we work with companies like Mammoth, Turf, or Impact Signs, or McGowan Gordon Construction, Hush Blackwell Law Firm, Hometown Ticketing, these are companies that are looked at. These are businesses that have a national reputation. These are industry leaders. These are the type of companies that our schools hire to do projects on campus, and we've got to continue to work with them and find them, because it makes our conference stronger and it makes our institutions better when they're able to work with the industry's best.
Last one on our list, maybe more in my neck of the woods that I'll be able to understand better, just just barely. But MIAA Network and new media, I think, in reaching audiences, we see that in all media deals, right? Of across, I mean, we've seen what the Division One Power Five deals look like, and we talked about earlier. No one's touching those with the Southeastern Conference and what the Big Ten's trying to do. But what are you in the league of trying to do with the MIAA network at this point too?
Well, we have a huge asset, and it's taken a lot of hard work. It's taken a couple of years to get there. Marshall Fay in our office does a great job in managing our network, and it's grown into the most profitable media network in NCAA Division II, and the largest as far as the number of live broadcasts and events that we're doing. But we've got to continue to grow that, Chris. We've got to find ways to reach new audiences. We've got to find ways to grow content, the type of things that we're delivering to our subscribers, not just live events, but the type of feature stories that you've started to do for us, coaches shows, press conferences. The sky's the limit, the types of things that our institutions can use the network for. But it's an important revenue source. It's an important marketing and branding tool for the conference. And we've got to continue to find ways to make it grow and become even more important to our success as a league.
I guess maybe the follow up on that one too. How does that topic or strategy kind of way with the other ones? Because the new media is such a wild west, I think, for obviously traditional television, traditional media. Everybody's trying to figure out what this is going to look like. I don't know if anybody knows yet with social media and stuff like that. Just how much is this? My end, I think it's trial and error a little bit too, right? Like it's you don't know. This may work. This may not work. You spend hours and hours, days, weeks, years. It just feels like the new media stuff's one of those things where nobody really knows what's going to happen. We just have to try things too, right?
Yeah, and it does relate to things like we talked about, embracing change and being innovative, being bold, being resourceful. We've got to tap into all of these sources. And the most important thing we're doing with all of this media, Chris, whether it's our network or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, is telling our story. We have a great story to tell. Our institutions have a tremendous history of success. Our conference has a tremendous history of success. We do things the right way. NCAA Division II is a very special place for student athletes to compete. And we've got to do a better job of getting our story out there, telling our story to recruits and prospective student athletes' parents and potential business partners and other people that need to know about the MIAA and our membership. And the network and all of this new media is really the way we need to do it. And we've got to do it better than any other conference in the country is doing it.
We covered a lot of topics today. Hopefully everybody kind of got something out of them because there's a lot of change. There's a lot of things coming from the MIAA, Division II, the NCAA. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, Chris, I just wish all of our fans, a great fall. I think, the weather is awesome outside. I was at a soccer game on Sunday afternoon and a great crowd in Topeka watching Washburn and Northwest Missouri State play soccer. And I can't think of a better place to spend a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon in the fall than being on a college campus watching student athletes compete. So MIAA Nation, you make me proud the way you support our teams, the way you turn out. Let's keep it going. Let's end the fall on a high note with great attendance and supporting our student athletes. And it's a great, great fun time of the year, Chris.
I will say this Saturday looks really good for football, like 60s in the afternoon because I'm going to Missouri Western's game. But Friday night football, it's supposed to be a low of 32 and it's probably going to be 40. I'm not a cold weather person. I'm also not like a 95-degree weather person either. So we've hit now the part of the year where I'm cringing as we get later and later at night. So
Well, soon it'll be a comfortable 70 degrees inside a gym somewhere for you to watch some basketball. But we've got a lot of fall action yet to get through. Some exciting times here the rest of October and November.
absolutely. MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy, thank you as always.
You bet. Good to see you, Chris.